Welcome, everyone, to today's Town of Chatham Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. The date is July, is it the 8th or 9th? July 9th. Where'd time go? Welcome, everybody. To start the meeting, we have a few words from the Governor of Massachusetts. Ms. Fenwick, please.
Please note this meeting is being recorded and will be available shortly hereafter for scheduled and on-demand viewing on any smartphone or tablet device. If anyone else is recording the meeting, including the use of AI note-taking apps, please notify the chair. Pursuant to Governor Healey's March 28, 2025 signing of Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025 extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law until June 30, 2027, this meeting of the Chatham Zoning Board of Appeals is being conducted in person and via remote participation. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so by calling the phone number 508-945-4410. Conference ID is 350-514-089, the #, or join the meeting via online via Microsoft Teams through the link that is posted in the agenda. While this is a live broadcast and simulcast on Chatham TV, which is on Xfinity Channel 1072, despite our best efforts, we may not be able to provide real-time access. And we will post a record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as possible. In accordance with town policy, the public may speak to any issue, hearing, or business item on the agenda during the meeting when you're recognized by the chair. There are a few procedural steps that I'll go over. We begin with a roll call of all board members. We ask if any citizens and non-board members participating in the call via the phone only for their name and the last 4 digits of their phone number for identification purposes. The hearing notice will be read by staff, Sarah Clark, over here to my right, our principal permitting officer. You and your representative presents your appeal or your application. Anyone in favor of the appeal or application may speak up to 5 minutes. There's a time limit. The chair may read or summarize all letters received by the board. Anyone against the appeal or application may speak or ask a question, 5-minute time limit on that also. Applicant may rebut testimony. Board members may direct questions to anyone present. The board hears any further information, and then the board closes the public hearing, and then the board deliberates. And then the board will vote on the appeal or application. All votes are taken by roll call. In the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the granting of special permits, variances, and appeals require a supermajority, meaning you need 4 of the 5 voting members to approve the application to succeed. Okay, voting today will be Ed Acton, Paul Semple, Dave Nixon, myself, and Lee Hovey. At the end of the meeting, we'll close the meeting via a verbal confirmation and note the time of adjournment.
Thank you. So we need a roll call to approve this form of meeting. I'll start with Ed.
Ed Acton, I approve of this meeting format.
Paul C. Semple, I approve of this format.
David S. Nixon, I approve.
Virginia Fenwick, I approve.
Stephen D. DeBoer, and I approve.
Lee Hovey, I approve.
First thing is we have some minutes.
Yes, I'll move to adopt or approve the minutes of June 4, 2026 as published.
I actually have some comments to that one.
Okay.
Okay, on page 2 of these minutes, 2/3 of the way down, where it says right before it says correspondence was read into the record. 2 bullets above that, I want to edit quite a bit of that bullet. Okay, it starts with, he stated that the sidewalk was reviewed by the traffic engineer and which analyzed 3 things. The way it really should be stated is that he stated that sidewalks were reviewed by the traffic engineer, which analyzed different sidewalk options along Meeting House Road. Okay, so that's the first change. Then it should be two options, 1 and 2. Option 1 was the sidewalk on the west side, and if we could add of Meeting House Road. And then option 2 was sidewalk on the east side, and we should add of Meeting House Road. Okay, and then the next bullet says, Mr. Singer stated that the proposal would be for the pathway, and instead of along Meeting House Road, it should say within the property to the rail trail is the safest access and most economical.
All right, I'll amend my motion to include those corrections. And I'll
Okay, we
vote
need a
yes.
vote. Ed?
I second.
All right, I'll vote yes.
Ed votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, and then June 11th.
And then we have minutes of June 11th, 2026. I have one addition to that, and that would be in the roll call of the vote. I was present and believe I said yes with respect to that, but it's not included in the minutes. So with that change, I would move to approve the minutes.
Okay,
Ed Acton approves.
Paul says yes.
second?
I second and
Ed?
vote yes.
Yep. Ed said yes. Paul?
I said yes.
Okay, Jenny?
Says yes.
Leary said yes, I say yes. Okay, good. So, Sarah, let's begin with application 26-049, please.
Application number 26-049, Robert and Lisa Franz, care of Connor Walsh, 20 Rascally Rabbit, Unit 1A, Marston's Mills, Massachusetts, 02648. Owners of property located at 43 Marion Lane, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 15I, Block 29, Lot G6. The applicant proposes to install an exterior mechanical system appliances, AC condensers, 18.3 feet from the easterly abutter where a 25-foot setback is required. The property contains 21,200 square feet in the R40 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 9, and Section 8D2B of the Protective Bylaw.
And do we have Mr. Walsh here?
My name is Connor Walsh, Vice President of Engineered Comfort Solutions, located in Marston's Mills. The idea is to have the mechanical systems as seen on this drawing. The closest one in the front of the house, about 18 and a half feet away from the abutment, the neighbor's property. These units were actually installed already. After correspondence with Jay Briggs, who originally told me that the abutment was 15 feet. As you can see in the photos, there is woods, between the two properties. You cannot see the units from the street at all. The units themselves have a decibel rating no more at full speed than a running refrigerator, so there won't be a noise issue at all. Do you have any questions?
Oh, we could. Is that your presentation?
Yes.
The criteria sheets are up there if you wanted him to go through the criteria.
Yeah, I think you need to go through the criteria for us.
Okay.
Thank you, Jay. Some don't apply, but you can figure that out as you go through it.
Adequacy of the size of the site in terms of the size for the proposed use. I think the property itself is like 22,000 square feet. There is, adequate space, in my opinion, between the abutment in the rear of the home. Suitability of the site for proposed use. It is the ideal spot to have condenser locations away from the homeowner's windows, away from the homeowner's bedrooms, and directly across from the neighbor's driveway. Impact on traffic flow and safety, it has no impact on traffic flow and safety. Impact on neighborhood visual character, including views and vistas. Like I said previously, you cannot see it from anywhere besides Mr. Franz's property. Adequacy of method of sewage disposal, source of water, and drainage. This does not apply. Adequacy of utilities and other public services. This also doesn't apply. Noise and litter, I talked about the decibel rating. You aren't going to be able to hear these at all. The highest on like 105-degree day would be that of a running refrigerator. Typically, you won't be able to hear these units at all. Compatibility of the proposed use with surrounding land uses. The use is to fully condition the home. It's a more, we put in the heat pump system because it's a more economically friendly system than the an oil, propane, electric resistance system. So it's only gonna have a positive impact on the land. Impact on the natural environment, including slopes, vegetation, wetlands, groundwater, and water bodies. The systems themselves are mounted on composite pads, which are level with the ground. They're also mounted on snow stands to be above the snow level of the town of Chatham. There's going to be pretty much no impact on the natural environment. As you can see in the photo, it is, a relatively flat surface. We test the systems for leaks, so there won't be any refrigeration leaks or anything like that going into the groundwater. Everything has been adequately tested. The impact on the neighborhood and town visual character of any formula business establishment. The impact of the visual character,
Yeah.
like I said previously.
This doesn't apply to you, so that's okay.
Great.
That's a storefront and what you might have for sale, that.
All right, fair enough.
All right, well, thank you. So that would be your presentation.
All right.
Okay, is there anyone here today or on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak in favor of this? If so, please indicate you'd like to join the conversation. Don't see anybody? No correspondence. Is there anyone here today or on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak against this or has a specific question? Now would be the time to indicate you'd like to join the conversation. Don't see anybody for that either. Okay, so let's go to questions from the board. Ed?
Yeah, you may want to go back up there. Sorry. So it sounds like you perhaps thought the setbacks for this property were 15 feet instead of 25 feet?
Correct.
Okay. And it sounded like you had said maybe Jay had suggested that it was 15 feet instead of 25 feet?
We had a correspondence on the town portal.
Okay. Have any comments?
Jay Briggs, Building Commissioner. I do believe that I did say that the setback was 15 and 25, thinking this was in the R20.
Gotcha.
I think that I clarified or corrected that situation within a day at the most. I don't know if the units were already installed or not. I don't recall.
Okay.
But there was some confusion.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you. No further questions?
Paul?
I have no questions.
Ginny?
Well, can I pick up on where Jay just left off? Do you recall that conversation? with Mr. Briggs that way? Like, he called you the next day? Had you already installed them at that point?
I do, yes, we had,
So you installed them the day that you talked to him, basically?
basically, yes.
All right. Were these replacements to anything existing, or were they a new site for the house?
New.
Okay. Was there any consideration to the back of the property? I walked the property, and it's a very large, nice lot. Level back, you wouldn't have needed a special permit. Was there consideration of the back?
Honestly, the left side of the home was ideal for the homeowner. It was the spot that we had agreed on.
Is that because the gas line is there, or why was that an ideal spot, do you know?
Just because it's out of the way.
Okay. Okay, that's all I have, thank you.
Steve?
I just want to clarify, were there 2 units installed?
Say, one more time?
Or were there 2 units installed?
Yeah, there's 2 condensers, yep.
Okay, so the application is written in such a way that it sounds like there's 1. So there was 2.
There's 2 condensers, yep.
And it seems like they're both within the setback.
Yeah, they're both within 25 feet, correct?
Okay, all right. I just wanted to clarify that because it sounded like there was only 1 that was installed. All right, thank you.
Lee?
No questions.
So, you were notified a day later, correct, that the information should have said 25 feet?
Yes.
And in that one day, you'd already installed the whole thing?
To be honest, I wasn't actively refreshing the town portal to look at the correspondence. So,
So when you were informed that it was not in the right spot, did you give any consideration to moving it to where it would be?
if we were to move these systems at this point and at the point where we were on that day, it would have cost us, $5,000 to $10,000 to do so.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Paul,
I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
need a vote on that? Ed?
Second?
I second and vote yes.
Paul votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
And you already voted yes, I voted. Yeah, Ed, I didn't mean to skip over the seconding, but if you'd second, so it'd be, yes, I second, and then you vote, okay.
Got it.
All right, thank you. Just to make things, all right. So deliberations, let's start with Lee.
Well, I understand the rationale for putting them where you put them. And, the little confusion, sometimes it happens. So I don't actually have any issues with the condensers being there.
Thank you.
Steve?
Yeah, I guess I guess to your advantage, there is quite a bit of vegetation between your applicant's house and the one next door. I kind of wish that there was more effort put into redesigning this so that they weren't where they are, but they are there now, and it does sound like it might be a hardship to try to move them.
Certainly.
Excuse me, Steve, we have a noise. Was that shut off?
Okay.
Was that you? Oh, okay, thank you. Sorry, Steve.
No, that's fine. I mean, I guess I would have liked to seen them someplace else, but they're already there now. There is vegetation between you and the neighbor. And there is, there was maybe some miscommunication between you and, so I guess I would be okay with where they are. It's not ideal, I don't think, but they're there.
Thank you.
Jenny?
Yeah, I agree, it's not ideal either, and that's why I asked the question about why you even chose to go the special permit route when there's a really ample room in the back. So, I mean, oftentimes when we receive these applications is because the homeowners really don't have a choice. And there's the setback for a reason, which is, noise and views from your neighbor. So I agree with Steve. I'm a little torn, but I'd like to hear what my colleagues have to say.
Paul?
Well, I think the only cover that he has right now is that there was an initial indication that, of a different setback, but it was corrected almost immediately, and I guess I'll accept his representation that the installation had already been made as an explanation for that. I'm not going to assume that he's being dishonest with us, so on that basis, I would approve the application.
Ed?
I agree with Paul, and I understand someone who uses the portal, you don't necessarily check it every day for messages. So just a misunderstanding and no correspondence from the neighbor, and it seems like it's pretty vegetated back there. So I think I'm okay with this one.
Yeah, I take a different tact. I feel that the confusion and all that kind of stuff, it just, they should not be there. They shouldn't. And they are, but that doesn't mean it's acceptable to me. Okay, Paul?
I'll move to approve the application as submitted.
Ed seconds and votes yes.
Ball votes yes.
Lee?
I vote yes.
Jenny?
I vote yes.
And I vote no, so that passes 4-1. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Sarah, the next one we have is 26-050, please.
Application number 26-050, St. Christopher's Episcopal Church, Thomas Cottrell, 858 Queen Anne Road, Harwich, Mass. 02645. Owner of property located at 625 Main Street, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 14E, Block 0, Lot 41A. The applicant proposes to install an exterior mechanical system appliance, AC condensers, within the Coastal Conservancy District where a 50-foot setback is required. The property contains 33,965 square feet in the GB1 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 9, and Section 8D2B of the Protective Bylaw.
Who? Okay, welcome, gentlemen. Please identify yourself.
Yes, I'm Dick Kraser, and this is Tom Cottrell. We're members of the Facilities Committee at St. Christopher's Church. I noticed it indicated that Tom Cottrell is the owner. No, he's not the owner.
Well, maybe he'd like to
was,
be. I
but
don't
he's
know. Yeah, what's the rent you're getting anyway?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's right. Okay. And thank you for putting the nice picture of the church up at the beginning. I appreciated that.
Thanks, Sarah, for that.
Thank you, Sarah. All right, we're seeking permission to add 3 heat pumps, today's heat pump day, I guess, as replacements for aging gas-fired furnaces. One of them has already failed, and 2 are on their last legs. In order to preserve the look and feel of the building, it's necessary that we install these compressor packages in the rear of the building and hide them with a privacy screen and plantings. The garden and the church itself are within the 1% probability flood zone, requiring your review and consent. The installation is, as shown, has this unit meeting the town requirement of being 2 feet above the base flood elevation of 11 feet MSL. And let me go through the checklist.
Yeah, the ones that apply, we don't have to worry about things like
In other words,
impact on.
we don't plan to change it from an Episcopal church to McDonald's, okay?
Yeah, but technically, there's more than 4 or 5 of those, and so
Yes.
you can just kind of.
Okay, well, the adequacy, the units are nestled, and this is most important, I think, against the south wall of the building, which gives us a 36-foot back from the property line. And it reduces the garden by only a small amount. They're no closer to the property lines than any part of the building, and the HBDC on May 7th approved that location. I think you all know St. Christopher's Church. There aren't many places on the church that are not visible from Main Street, and we want to preserve that. We're very proud of the view that we give to St. Christopher's. So as you can see, they're being nestled in the back. What doesn't show there is a privacy screen that will go in front of them, and then the garden plantings that will kind of hide that. The garden area itself is not visible from any place off the property because of the hedge and other plantings, but it's a place for people to come and relax during the day, and it's a memorial garden as well. So it would be preferred that we don't mount them in the flood zone. However, we can't do it because of visibility in other places. Impact on visual character, as I just said, it's not visible from any other place. However, meeting all these criteria means it's going to stick up a foot higher than the privacy screen that we have. And we would like you to consider allowing us to lower it by 1 foot to be only, now it would be only 1 foot above MSL, over the base flood elevation, which, by the way, is above the floor level of the church. As far as sewage disposal, there's no changes. Utilities, obviously, we're going to reduce the amount of natural gas. That's one of the missions that the church has, is to reduce the fossil fuel and the carbon loading by that, and that's why we are moving to heat pumps. And that, of course, requires us to put units outside. Currently, we have solar panels on the church. We generate electricity. We don't utilize all that electricity all the time, and by going to heat pumps, we will better utilize the electrical power that we generate. I'd like to say we have an objective to have zero impact on the environment, but I'm afraid, at least with the current technology, we're not quite there. But we're going to keep looking at it, that's for sure. Sound levels, as you heard before, these units are specified at 52 decibels, which is about a light rain or a running refrigerator. 3 of them, it doesn't add up exactly, but it'll be around 60, which is still probably not even detectable at the property line at any time, and certainly not in the summertime. I guess, so I ask your consideration, and we're here to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you. That's an interesting ask that you made about lowering it a foot. I don't think we can do that. That's more of a conservation thing, isn't it? Oh, so, okay. Jake, is that something we could do or no?
No, I can't do it either. It's Building
Okay.
Code Appeals Board. The building code dictates that the equipment has to be 2 feet above base flood elevation.
Okay.
So,
Thank you. So,
Sorry about that.
well, no, you can, look, there's no harm in asking, that's okay.
Yep.
That's okay. Okay, so is there anyone here today on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak in favor of this application? If so, please indicate you want to join the conversation. Don't see anybody. I will read the correspondence. First is from Town of Chatham, HBDC, that's the Historic Business District Commission. They write on June 24th, on May 6th, the HBDC met and rendered the following decision. The commission voted 5-0 approving the AC compressor and heat pump installation. That was signed by Chantel Kilkenny, who's the secretary for that organization. Then we have a note. This is from the Town of Chatham, and it's from the Conservation Commission. They write, the applicant has not submitted any applications for permitting. The project will require an administrative review when the project will be conditioned to meet the performance standards under the Wetlands Protection Act and the Town of Local Wetland Bylaw, Chapter 272. The applicant has been notified of the conservation permitting needed and will be applying for the permit. Did you apply for that?
Yes, yesterday,
Okay. Yesterday?
yesterday, yeah.
Okay, okay, well, at least you did it, okay.
That's when I got the.
Well, the letter was written July 8th, so that was prompt. Yeah, I know, okay. So now, is there anyone here in Microsoft Teams or here that wishes to speak either against this application or as a specific question? If so, please indicate you'd like to join the conversation. Don't see anybody, so we'll have questions from the board. Let's start with Ginny.
Thank you. So a question for you about, Sarah, if you maybe want to pull to this slide. I noticed there were a couple of other heat pumps that you already have on the sides to the right of this new site and
Yes,
to the left. So you've been using them and introducing those splits for a while?
Those splits were put in about 15 years ago.
Okay. No, I like where it's nestled. I appreciate the sensitivity you have to aesthetically how it's going to look there. The gardens in the back are beautiful, and you have the memorial garden, which is very special. I was curious to know, what is the room that they will be blocking, that basement room?
Yeah, that is, of course, that's a below-grade room.
Yeah.
It was our youth room until youth disappeared, and currently it's being used as storage.
Okay.
It will be a youth room again, and if you notice on the layout, we have some additional space in there because it may be necessary to tuck another unit back in there. So what particularly Tom did the drawings here, tries to show that this is the full extent that might ever occur as we come back. Right now, we're just planning on the 3 big units that are in there, but as you can see, he's planned on hiding the rest if we have to put a smaller unit in for that youth room. It does block the window. That's a non-opening window.
Yeah.
You'll still get daylight.
Have to go somewhere, so, okay, thank you for, oh, wait, one more question. So this 1 foot height that you were hoping to get, is this rendering accurate that at that maximum height, it will be below that upper window?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes.
Even at
That's
the height that you have?
Yes, that's as
Okay.
close as we can show. The top of a 6-foot fence is going to be about 1 foot below that.
Okay, thank you.
Steve?
I have no specific question.
Lee?
So when we did our site visit, there was a wooden structure. Is that basically what it's going to look like?
We built that so we could have our discussions with our congregation and with our officers at the church of how big it's going to be and where it's going to go.
Okay. It
It's our
was
way of
helpful.
creating visuals.
Yeah, it was helpful. It was a helpful visual. Thank you. That's it.
Sure.
Ed?
I have no questions.
Paul?
The visual was helpful, but I wouldn't suggest that you go into the furniture business based on that. It's interesting to me that you have to raise this to avoid flood problems, but you've got a window that's below it.
Yeah, that is interesting, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
What-
We're just hoping 1% is far less than 1% probability. The
Okay.
church was built, of course, I mean, that part of it goes back into the 1970s. So the floodplain was nowhere near there in those days.
Okay, good. I think it's a very private area, a very quiet area, so this should not be a problem at all. I have no other questions.
Okay, and I have none. Paul?
I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Ed seconds and votes yes.
All votes yes?
Ginny votes yes.
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Deliberations. Ed?
I have no issues. I don't think it's going to be detrimental in any way. It seems to make sense, the location, and it certainly has to meet the floodplain, so I would be voting in the affirmative.
Paul?
Yes, it certainly is not going to be detrimental to the established or future character of the neighborhood and the town, and it will be found that the use involved is in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the bylaw. So I will vote yes.
Ginny?
Well, I want to echo what Paul just said, so I don't have to say that, but I wanted to just add that I thought you did a very nice presentation, and appreciate the thoughtfulness that you've put into the placement, and, you know, it is a beautiful back area. You don't have a lot of other options, and you're taking great care to do it very well. So I think it is not substantially more detrimental.
Steve?
Appreciate that, thank you.
Yeah, I don't believe it's detrimental at all. It sounds like you're trying to do the right thing for the environment and save some fossil fuel. The only thing you may have to do is get some taller arborvitaes or something, but I think it's a good project.
They do grow pretty fast.
Yeah, I think this makes a lot of sense, and I hope it does the trick for the church.
So I'll move to approve the application as submitted. I don't know that we're going to need any conditions. When do you plan to do the installation?
We do start that probably in late September.
Okay.
We planned on doing it in the spring until we ran into the flood zone question, and we didn't want to do anything over the summer. Besides that, getting heating contractors here in the summer, they're busy fixing air conditioning that is not working when folks show up, so.
I'm not sure I see a need for any conditions. I'll move to approve the application as submitted.
Ed seconds and votes yes.
Paul votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
I vote yes.
I vote yes, that's a unanimous decision. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, on to 26-051, please, Sarah.
Application number 26-051, Sydney Realty Trust, care of William G. Litchfield Esquire, 330 Orleans Road, North Chatham, Mass. 02650. Owner of property located at 23 Woodcarver Knoll, also shown in the town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 11D, Block 32, Lot 4A. The applicant seeks to modify special permit number 23-041 granted on June 8, 2023, which allowed for the construction of an addition. The applicant now seeks to modify this special permit to allow for an increase in building coverage and the construction of a new accessory structure, garage/pool house. The proposed garage/pool house will comply with all bulk and dimensional requirements of the bylaw, but is considered a substantial alteration under the second except clause of Section 6 of Mass General Law, Chapter 48, requires the grant of a special permit. The building coverage approved under special permit number 23-041 was 1,795 square feet, 10.6%. The constructed building coverage was 1,800 square feet, 10.7%. And the proposed building coverage is 2,485 square feet, 14.7%, where 15% is the maximum allowed. The lot is non-conforming in that it contains 16,870 square feet, where 20,000 square feet is required in the R20 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Sections 6 and 9, and Sections 5B and 8D 2B of the protective bylaw.
Mr. Litchfield.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Bill Litchfield here on behalf of Julie Moore, who is in the front row to my right. With her is our architect, Dana Cohen. You will recall, I think, that we were here 3 years ago, at least several of you will recall. But first, I want to explain the tent. That was actually set up, as you know, things have to be staked 2 weeks before the hearing. And given the heat over the 4th of July weekend, that was set up as a courtesy for this board for your site visits. Actually, it was set up because today happens to be Julie Moore's birthday. And there is an event planned later because we don't yet have a pool and we don't yet have a pool house. And we hope that we will after today's hearing. You will recall that a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, we were in front of you for some very small additions to the house. And also for the garage with a one-bedroom, not guest house, because it doesn't have kitchen or cooking facilities. And at the time, you suggested that because town sewer was not yet on Woodcarver or on Pondview, that we wait until that happened. In January, I confirmed with Tom Barr of our DPW that yes, it was finally going to happen. and we went forward with our plans. There are technically two aspects to the petition today. First, the house, the addition to the house was 5 square feet more than was allowed, well below the 15% maximum. So we simply are here to, as a technicality, to legitimize that additional 5 square feet. But more importantly, to construct a garage, and thank you, I was just going to ask you to do that. As shown there on the left-hand side in that rendering, which Dana did of what is proposed. We want to add shutters to the house, and we want, obviously, to build a garage, 2-car garage, with identical trim or matching trim to what is there, what is proposed. I will get to the changes that were made since the proposal for that building was in front of you in 2023. But the critical issue was that at the time, we didn't have the eligibility for the new bedroom, and you suggested to us that we come back once sewers are in the works, and they finally are. So I'll go into the criteria and then talk about the changes and why we think this is appropriate under our bylaw. As to adequacy of site, including building coverage and setbacks, we have a mid-sized lot in a neighborhood where most of the lots are non-conforming. We have coverage of 10.7%, which is at the lower end of the neighboring properties. Certainly the house or the site is adequate for residential use, as it has been in the 90 years since the house was first built. I think you can find the site to be adequate for construction of the pool house, which is a small connection to the garage or in addition to the garage, and the garage will have living space above. It will meet all height, setback, and coverage requirements of the bylaw. That it is a Bjorkland, this is a Bjorkland hearing, because the proposal is completely compliant as to all of our zoning requirements. As to compatibility of size, on the third page of the handout, as you will see, again, we have an average size lot with a relatively low footprint. We're in the mid-range of gross floor area and living area. If you approve the special permit, coverage at 14.7% will comply with the 15% limitation. We're below that. It is certainly not inconsistent with the neighborhood. The gross floor area and living area increase, but they are lower than some and will remain compatible. As to the extent of increase in nonconformity, as Sarah indicated in the hearing notice, we are nonconforming as to lot size and setbacks for the house, but there are no changes to the house. So if you approve the special permit, there will be no increase in nonconformity whatsoever. Rather, the garage is totally conforming. It is 48 feet, a little bit under 48 feet back from the house, where only from the street rather, where only 25 feet is required. 42 feet from the rear lot line, where only 15 feet is required. And the pool itself is completely compliant, so that's the proposed pool, so that's not before you today. As to suitability of site, impact on the natural environment, the site is suitable for the house, for the existing house, and I think you can find it to be suitable for the garage. It is well outside of the Conservation Commission's 100-foot jurisdiction from the top of the coastal bank, which is on the other side of Woodcarver Knoll. It is without impact on the natural environment. As to scale, sighting, mass, views, and vistas, again, there's no change to the existing structure, which has been modified many times over the years. Streetscape on Woodcarver is almost a misnomer. It is, as you know from having been out there, basically a one-lane private way leading down to the handful of houses down at the end. But we have cited the proposed garage to comply with both the zoning bylaw and the neighbor to whom we granted a view easement, and also neighborhood views. The garage and the pool are outside of the view easement, and they're far set back from the street. If you come down Woodcarver Knoll, you'd have to look kind of sharply to your left to even see it, which I don't think most people ordinarily do. And of course, the few houses beyond it, they're looking down at Oyster Pond anyway. The scale is in keeping with surrounding properties, especially in a neighborhood which is undergoing some change and some redevelopment. As the compatibility of use, we have a garage is inherently an accessory residential use. As to adequacy of sewage and water, we have town water and a Title V. And again, Mr. Barr confirmed in January that installation of sewers on the street was finally moving forward. The health agent, the chair will read a comment from the health agent, and she acknowledges that with sewer, we would be allowed to have to apply for and to get the additional bedroom. As to traffic flow and safety, it is not exactly a thoroughfare, but certainly a garage is a useful thing to have in terms of cars. Noise and litter and utilities are not at issue. What is at issue, as you know, is whether the proposed construction of this garage and pool house toward the rear of the lot, which will provide significantly greater utility for the homeowner, but also meets all current zoning requirements, whether that is substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the current structure on a non-conforming lot. Again, by way of background to refresh your memories, we acquired a portion of a neighboring lot to allow for a garage in 2023. When we were here before you, you made several suggestions which have been heeded. We lowered the ridge of the garage. We reduced the footprint and shifted the footprint as well. And you asked that we wait for the sewer project to move forward, and that is finally occurring. And again, just so that you know, the bedroom itself will still require both connection to town sewer and water and sewer commission approval. The garage itself, as Dana has designed, is attractive, I think you can find. It incorporates traditional elements, the shutters and the cedar shingles, and the trim details to match the house. Again, the ridge of the garage is 2 feet lower than that of the main house and set far back from the road. I know that sometimes one member on my left often asks about, whether it's truly subsidiary to the main structure, and it is. It's set back further than the house as well as being lower than it. It is also, Mr. Chairman, completely cupola-free.
I circled that in here.
I thought you might have. Again, we've reduced it in size from that which was proposed 3 years ago. And the additional but modest living area without cooking facilities above the garage will allow for guest and family use, but also privacy for Julie and her guests and family members. So in light of the criteria and the plans, and particularly in this location, I think that you can find the proposed garage, particularly as modified, which meets all bulk and dimensional requirements of the bylaw. I think you can find that it's not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. Julie, Dana, and I would all be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone here today on Microsoft Teams who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please indicate you want to join the conversation. Don't see, sorry, yes. I'm afraid you have to go to the microphone. You're on TV. And if you were wearing a hat, I'd make you take off your hat and all that kind of stuff. And how are you, Anna?
Good afternoon. My name is Anna Clark. I am a friend of Julie Moore's, and I have seen the work that she has done on her home. She is a very conscientious attorney who is very conscientious of the impact of anything that she does, particularly on her neighborhood and her neighbors. Many of her neighbors have approached her and approached her friends to say that they are in support of this project. And rest assured that this will be done in a completely tasteful as well as compliant way.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor? Don't see anyone. I'll read the correspondence. First, from Judith Giorgio. She's a health agent here in Chatham. She writes on June 29th, the proposed plan includes additional septic sewer flow for the property. The plan shows a connection to the public sewer, which would accommodate the additional bedroom. However, the availability of sewer service for this property must be confirmed with the sewer department. Then we have a letter. This is from Jonathan and Julie Bartlett, 55 Pondview Lane, July 6th. We are neighbors. We have seen the thoughtful building plans that Julie has developed, and we are writing in support of her application to your board for a special permit. In the past, we've watched Julie attentively plan and beautifully execute previous home renovations. We appreciate her efforts to make improvements and comply with the rules. We're excited to see the completion of her current project and know it'll bring great value to the neighborhood. We hope that the Board of Appeals will approve this request. Now I have a note, this is from Jean Allen and Kevin Strother, 103 Kelly Lane, July 6th. We own the property 103 Kelly, right around the corner. We are writing in support of our application to construct a garage with room to allow for some additional living space. We are close abutters to this property and fully support Julie in her request, which will have no negative consequences for our neighborhood. Julie is a great neighbor. Her prior home modifications have been tasteful and in keeping with the community surroundings. From what we understand from the legal information, the application meets all requirements of the bylaws of the adjacent street, so we see no reason not to approve it. We urge the Board of Appeals to grant the special permit. That's the extent of the correspondence. Is there anyone here today or on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak against or has a specific question? If so, please indicate you want to join the conversation. Don't see anybody, so we'll have questions from the board. Let's start with Lee.
Thank you. I just have a quick question regarding the total area of the lot. 16,870 square feet, is that with the addition of the lot next
Yes.
door? Okay. It seems bigger to me. That's it for right now. Thank you.
And if I could, I appreciate that observation. It does. And there are some other lots which are actually larger, which are not all don't all have buildable upland, but they appear smaller. But it does have in other words, there's significant room and plenty of room for it, in my opinion.
Yeah, thank you.
Ed?
The ridge height of the garage looks to be, is it about 2 feet?
2 feet below the ridge, yep.
So it should look subordinate to the rest of the house. No other questions.
Paul?
I have no questions.
Jenny?
So I had this similar question that Lee did, because when I look at the maps online, I guess this is outdated.
That is old, that is incorrect.
Because it's showing it as a square lot, and it's obviously very long, and so I thought I was missing something as well. So this is outdated, that lot was purchased, it's now part of the whole, and that total is under 17,000.
Correct.
Okay, great, thank you.
Steve?
I have no other questions.
I have no questions, and thank you about the cupola, and I'm sorry, we seem to have misplaced our birthday party invitations, but,
Depending on the outcome, Mr. Chairman, you perhaps can stop by on your way home, but that's up to the board.
well, we might need to have a tester for the cake, you know what I mean? Okay. Paul?
I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Ed seconds and votes yes.
All votes yes?
Ginny votes yes.
I vote yes.
I vote yes. Okay. Deliberations, Paul?
Clearly not more substantially detrimental to the neighborhood. I mean, it's going to look very nice, and it's a great setting, and as you say, the lot looks much bigger than it actually is, I guess, but it's a nice setting.
I think one of the reasons why it looks a lot longer is because the southeast corner is only 5.8 feet from the property line. So, and that was pre-existing non-conforming, so that's not before us today. But that is why it looks so long, because we don't have the house centered in the, the original lot. However, that's irrelevant to today's hearing, and I think what's been proposed has been thoughtful. It's taken a few years to figure out the final details. And it's very attractive, it's quite lovely, and I think, I believe it meets our criteria, so I would support it.
Steve?
Well, I think this is a good project. It meets all the criteria. It's under the building height. It's under the setbacks. I think it's not going to be detrimental whatsoever to the neighborhood. In fact, it's probably a great addition. Good luck. Happy birthday.
Lee?
Yeah, I agree with my colleagues, and I also want to point out this rendering, which is very well done and gives you a great perspective, with the new shutters and what the finished product will look like, and it looks really nice. And I especially like the landscaping, because I think that will help this lot, because it is kind of open.
Ed?
I agree with my colleagues. I think it's certainly not substantially detrimental to the neighborhood. It looks to be thoughtful and should, once it's built, I imagine it's going to look like it's been there for forever once it's done.
Yep. Yeah, as Mr. Litchfield knows, I'm a great fan of garages, so I find this to be more than acceptable. What fooled me about the lot, I think, was the driveway of your neighbor, the ones runs through the lot where the pool's gonna go. And when you're looking at it, say, well, so where's the property line anyway? And we figured it out, but anyway. That's the way it is. Okay, Paul?
I'm going to move to approve the application as submitted. I guess the question would be, what's the plan for construction?
Post-Labor Day, so that limitation would not be a problem.
All right, and I'll move to approve the application as submitted with our standard conditions, which would be, if I can find them.
Sarah to the rescue.
All construction activity and vehicles shall be contained on site or at a neighboring property with the permission of the property owner. That between June 30th and Labor Day, no exterior construction will be allowed. No work shall be permitted on the weekends, and construction activity between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. only.
Ed seconds and votes yes.
Paul votes yes.
Judy votes yes.
Lee votes yes.
And I vote yes, that's a unanimous decision. Happy birthday and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Okay, 26-052, please, Sarah.
Application number 26-052, Robert Fitzpatrick, 68 Diane Drive, Chatham, Mass. 02633. Owner of property located at 68 Diane Drive, also shown in the town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 6C, Block 76, Lot G112. The applicant proposes to install exterior mechanical system appliances, AC condensers, 7.5 feet from the westerly abutter where a 15-foot setback is required, and within the coastal conservancy district where a 50-foot setback is required. The property contains 8,100 square feet of land area in the R20 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 9, and Section 8D2B of the protected bylaw.
Mr. Fitzpatrick, welcome.
Hello, folks. Robert Fitzpatrick, 68 Diane Drive. Back in December, our HVAC furnace failed up in our attic, and we had an emergency repair essentially required. Our contractor determined the unit was unrepairable, so we decided to install a heat pump system. As we were, at the time, we're running off of space heaters to prevent the home from freezing. So we installed 2 condensers outside where there was a previous condenser for the AC system. You can see them located, I guess, in the blue there. It's kind of hard to see. The red is where there was an existing AC condenser. So I'm asking the board for, I guess, approval after the fact, and I apologize for not knowing about the special permit required for this installation, nor was our contractor, unfortunately. So the location, in the format here, adequacy of the site, essentially, as I said before, it was right next to the location of the previous condenser. There really was no other area feasible. You can see to the right of the condensers, there's the gas meter right there. We couldn't put them there where that's a garbage container. We couldn't put them there because the new code says you can't have them so close to the gas meter where we had the previous condenser. So that's why we moved them to the left side. It's a very small lot. There was no other place to put them other than perhaps, I guess, in the front of the house somewhere, which really wouldn't be, I guess, would be objectionable. Number 2, sustainability of the site. Once again, these are like previous condensers. They're Mitsubishi units, very quiet. I think quieter even than the previous condenser that we had. Impact on traffic, I guess that's not applicable. Impact on the neighborhood views, not an issue. Several neighbors offered to write letters of, acceptance for this, but I told them I didn't think it was necessary. Maybe it is, I don't know. But there has been no issue as far as complaints from any neighbors about view or noise. Sewage disposal, not an issue. Utilities, noise, once again, quieter than the previous unit. Compatibility of surrounding site, I don't think is applicable. Impact on natural environment. Again, these are more energy efficient than the previous system that we had, so we're trying to do the right thing there. Impact of visual character, again, that shouldn't really apply. So I guess I'm asking the board today for your approval in hindsight, and I appreciate your understanding that we kind of did this under a dire emergency and the cold weather coming that we experienced last winter. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone here today or on Microsoft Teams who wishes to speak in favor of this application? If so, please indicate you want to join the conversation. Don't see anybody. I'll read the correspondence, which is a note from the Conservation Commission here in Chatham. June 22nd, they write, applicant has not submitted any applications for permitting. The project will require an administrative review when the project will be conditioned to meet the performance standards under the Wetlands Protection Act and the Town of Chatham Local Wetland Bylaw, Chapter 272. That's the extent of the correspondence. Did you want to comment on that?
I guess I'm unclear what the next step is.
Okay, well,
with that.
if you check later on with Sarah,
Okay,
she can explain what you need to
okay,
do.
appreciate it.
And
Thank you.
The letter might have just come out yesterday. I'm not too sure when. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Very good. Is there anyone on Microsoft Teams or here today that wishes to speak either against this or has a specific question? If so, please raise your hand. Don't see anybody. So, Paul, would you?
I have
Questions?
no questions.
Ginny?
No questions.
Steve?
Just for the record, can you tell us why that spot was chosen and not maybe somewhere in the rear of the house?
We have a deck in the back of the house. There's really no place you could put it. And right after that, the land slopes right down and you're essentially in the marsh.
So
at that
there's a
point.
topology issue.
Yeah, there's
in the
there really is no other feasible place, other than, I think I mentioned, at the very front of the house, which I think is objectionable to, certainly to me it would be, and I think the neighborhood.
back. Sure. All right, thank you.
Lee?
You're welcome.
No questions.
No questions.
Okay.
I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Ed seconds and votes yes.
All vote yes?
Ginny votes yes.
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. So, Steve? Deliberations.
Well, I guess we have another situation where this is, post-installation, or at least we got a very good mock-up of where you wanted to put the equipment. And it sounded like it was a bit of an emergency. You described the topology issue in the back. You wouldn't want them in the front of the house, so this is probably, and there was an existing unit in the same general location.
Correct,
so,
yeah.
We didn't get any letters from the neighbors complaining about it, so I think it's fine.
Great.
Lee?
Yeah, I'm okay with this as well. I think it is a good spot for it. It's out of the way, and I understand the situation regarding the installation. So I don't think this is substantially more detrimental.
Thank you.
Ed?
I agree with my colleagues.
Paul?
I also agree with my colleagues.
And Ginny?
So this is why site visits are so helpful. And this is also why we always say there's no such thing as precedent. because we see, every property is very different. And as you know, we heard earlier today, 2 applications for AC units that are here before us because they don't meet something. Now, your situation and your site is different, and that's why I made the comment about no such thing as precedent. So the previous applicant, not the church, they did have another option, which is why the board, was kind of challenged in our deliberation with that one. But they did receive grace from this board to keep them there. But your ask is actually, you have a 50-foot setback. Your options were very limited, much more limited. And you had an emergency situation, but for me, more important is that you're in a floodplain and you have limited options. So I do not have a problem with this request, and I would support it.
Thank you.
Yeah, you heard what I had to say about the first applicant. That doesn't apply to you at all. You had to do it. And where you put it makes sense to me.
Thank you.
To me, there's no argument or
Options.
a better way to do it, right? So, okay, Paul?
I'll move to approve the application as submitted.
Ed seconds and votes yes.
Paul votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. That's a unanimous decision. Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you, folks.
And so check with Sarah,
I will.
not today, and she'll lead you down that path, okay?
Yep. Thank you very much.
All right, very good.
Good day.
Okay. 26-053 and 26-054. I think I'll have you read them both. It's really, they're one and the same.
So one is for the addition, the other is for the apartments.
Right,
You want to do them together?
I do. I think the presentation will be together, correct?
Ideally, that would be preferred for me
Okay.
as well.
Not a problem.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Application number 26-053, Chatham Productions LLC, care of Victoria Clark, 1234 Chestnut Street, Newton, Mass. 02464. Owner of property located at 776 Main Street, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 14E, Block 37, Lot 56. The applicant proposes to change, alter, or expand a non-conforming commercial structure, Washington Taylor House, on a conforming lot via the construction of additions. The existing structure is non-conforming in that it is located 10.7 feet from Main Street, where a 25-foot setback is required. The proposed partial second floor and additions will comply with the dimensional requirements of the bylaw. The existing lot coverage is 11.8%, and the proposed lot coverage is 63.2%, where 70% is the maximum allowed. The lot contains 116,143 square feet in the GB2 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 6, and Section 5B of the protected bylaw. Application number 26-054, Chatham Productions LLC, care of Victoria Clark, 1234 Chestnut Street, Newton, Mass. 02464, owner of property located at 776 Main Street, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 14E, Block 37, Lot 56. The applicant proposes to construct 2 residential apartments incidental to a commercial use in the GB2 zone, which requires the grant of a special permit. The lot contains 116,143 square feet in the GB2 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Sections 9 and Sections 3C, 4C4, and 8D2B of the protected bylaw.
Welcome back. How are you?
I'm Victoria Clark. I'm with Chatham Productions. Thank you for letting us do these applications together because, as you said, it makes the most sense, particularly how we submitted our application. So the Washington Taylor House is in the GB2 zone. As it exists right now, it is a 3,548 square foot house that sits on timbers surrounded by a brick skirt. So there's no foundation, there's no basement. And so we are looking to put an addition that is 1,592 square feet onto the building. The reason this addition sounds very large is because the second floor of the Washington Taylor House is, as it exists right now, is 1,216 square feet, and the first floor is 2,332, so it's 1,000 square feet less. So the bulk of the addition, 1,224 square feet of it, will be added to the second floor, which is allowing us to create a second apartment on the second floor, which is what we would like to do, versus the first floor, we're adding 368 square feet, kind of to square off the property, because our goal with this structure is to create 4 commercial uses as well as 2 apartments for residential rental use upstairs. That's our overall goal. That's the general vicinity. In regards to criteria, the adequacy of the site, obviously the site is quite large. We're in the business zone, so we're lot coverage rather than building coverage. But as you've seen from our site plan, our majority of our site coverage comes from required parking that we're required to put. We are still in preliminary site plan discussions. We had our pre-application with the planning board a few weeks ago, and since then we've been working with Clark Engineering to solidify our site plan, to take the board's feedback as well as confirm all the grading, the drainage, and all the other required items that we have to do to make it work with such a large space, especially with a lot of parking. Compatibility, we think this structure, because it's a mix of commercial and residential, it is similar to many of the mixed-use buildings in our area, particularly our neighbors at 752 Main Street as well as 782 Main Street. Both have commercial on the first floor and residential on the second floor, and they're similar in size to what we're proposing. The extent in the proposed increase in non-conforming nature of the structure, the front of the structure is non-conforming, the addition is at the rear. We don't think that increases the nonconformity of the front of the building. The suitability of the site, including, not limited to, neighboring properties, natural environments, runoff, et cetera. We're working on our drainage, particularly because we know that runoff to neighboring properties is, as right now this site has a lot of varying grades. So that's something we're really working on to make sure that all runoff will be contained. That's why we haven't gone back to the planning board yet, because we haven't solidified the best way to do so. The impact of scale, siting, mass on neighborhood visual character, including views and vistas. The streetscape view of the Washington Taylor House will not change. We got the designs approved through the HBDC. We are matching the existing trim, materials, colors, all of that, so that it can be restored to its original look and present much better than it currently is. Compatibility of the proposed use with neighboring uses. Obviously, the GB2, the town's goal right now is to keep the business zones business, and so we think that proposing commercial on the first floor as well as residential units for rent on the second floor is what the town wants right now, and also makes the most sense with the comprehensive plan that people have been putting forward for the business zone, particularly this stretch of Main Street. Adequacy of method of sewage disposal, source of water and drainage. The site is connected to town sewer and water. Obviously, we haven't figured out all of the connections yet. That is something that Clark Engineering is still working through. Impact on traffic and safety. The planning board did request that, because we are changing the access point of this property from Main Street to Depot Road, they requested that we do a traffic study when we present our site plan, like our official site plan, to the planning board. So that is something we have scheduled with an engineering company that does so. So that'll be presented when we go in front of the planning board. Noise and litter, we'll maintain all trash on site, and we do not believe, obviously there'll be a noise increase right now because there's nothing on the site, but we think it'll be that similar to a normal commercial structure with residential. Adequacy of utilities, the property is currently served by existing connections to National Grid and Eversource, and they will continue to be served by those connections. We're not proposing a formula-owned business, so we do not believe that should be an issue. And then we are not in a floodplain, so.
Okay, and then let's switch to the apartments, okay?
Yes, okay. So similarly with the adequacy of the site in terms of size, you are required 10,000 square feet of buildable upland per apartment. We are only proposing 2 apartments. The lot has over 100,000 square feet, so we think this is an adequate size to propose 2 residential apartments on the second floor. Compatibility of this, suitability of the site for the proposed use. As I said before, many of the neighboring properties in the GB2 have apartments on the second floor of their commercial structures, so we think it is compatible and suitable. Impact on traffic flow and safety. Similarly, we will address that with the planning board through what the results of the traffic study is and what they would like us to do that way. Adequacy of methods of sewage disposal, source water drainage. We are connected to town sewer and water, but we are still in the process of determining the best plan of action for drainage so that we can contain all water on site and not have runoff to our neighboring properties. Specifically, we're very aware of Veterans Field next to us and how right now the slope runs downwards there. That's something we're trying to make sure that it stays enclosed and separated. Adequacy of other utilities, similar, we have, as I said before, we have National Grid and Eversource connections that will remain. Noise and litter, litter will be there'll be trash all trash will be contained on site. We have plans for dumpsters, et cetera. And noise, we do not think it will be that much of an impact for 2 apartments and some commercial structures. Compatibility of the proposed use with surrounding land use, similar. It is a very common use in the GB2, and we think it is the best use for this property, particularly based upon what the town is encouraging in this neighborhood. Impact on the natural environment, we don't think it will have an impact. And then impact on the neighborhood and town visual character, or of any formula business. We're not a formula business. But I do think overall, taking steps to revitalize this property through commercial use and landscaping will create a much more inviting look to the property overall and improve Main Street, particularly to kind of correct what currently is a bit of a eyesore and a problem. Thank you.
I'm glad you said that, not me.
Somebody had to.
Okay, before we move a little further, I think it's, while it's not part of these 2 applications, but everybody wants to know what the future of the theater building is. So while, you don't have to answer the question, I want to be fair, but, you know, we all risk being stoned because we're not doing anything about the theater, you know, bring back the theater and all that kind of stuff. So tell us what your plans are for the theater, please.
We're kind of doing it through phasing projects because we obviously have initial designs for certain things. And right now we're proposing a restaurant at the former theater structure, but obviously, until we get other approvals, the site plan, zoning for this property, we haven't pushed our architects and engineers to move forward with finalized plans because we know, as we've seen in previous experience with this town, it's not worth investing our money if we're gonna get shot down eventually.
Well, hopefully you'll have a better time with this than you've had in the past, yeah, right. And we feel the same way too, yeah. Okay, well, thanks. I just wanted to
No,
ask
of
that
course.
question because it's asked of me all the time.
Of course.
So let's go back to today's 2 applications. So, board, let's break them up. I want the one presentation so that we understood how it goes together. So we'll take, number 1, we'll take 26-053, and I'll see if. Is there anybody here that would like to speak in favor of 053? That's the change and so forth, not the apartments. That's the next one, that's 054. Either here or on Microsoft Teams, anyone wish to speak in favor? Okay, then I will read the correspondence. First, we have from Judith Giorgio, our health agent. She writes on June 29th, after reviewing the site plan, I have the following comments. A designated dumpster enclosure with dumpsters placed on a concrete pad should be provided to serve the retail, residential, and restaurant uses. There have been ongoing issues with rodent activity along this corridor, so properly contained and maintained waste storage is important. Next point, sewer flow calculation for the proposed development, including the retail spaces and any restaurant issues, should be reviewed and approved by the sewer department. Then we have a note, this is from the HBDC. On May 6th, the HBDC met and rendered the following decision. Commission voted 5-0 approving the addition to the theater. And then we have from the Planning Board on June 24th. The Planning Board held a pre-application conference for site plan review for the entire development proposal on June 8th. Planning Board will review a future site plan review application once submitted, utilizing the Planning Board site plan review criteria as set forth in such and such. The ZBA request for review and comment of the above referenced ZBA application prior to the hearing date on June 9th it has come in between the Planning Board pre-application conference and the site plan review application submissions. The board notified the applicant that this application reviewed via a public hearing and requested a site visit prior to the hearing. The Planning Board review process, which includes a request for comment for us, will include, and then there's quite a bit of work. The applicant proposes to change, alter, expand a non-conforming commercial structure on a conforming lot via the construction of additions. The existing structure is non-conforming and then is located at 10.7. It's the same wording we have, but, there's nothing different here. The Planning Board will conduct a more thorough review of the project once the site plan review application has been submitted. Have you done that yet?
No, we have not. We're working through some things, but also the traffic study is something we're trying to get scheduled, and we're at the whim of engineering companies to get that done.
Okay. All right. Then we have a note from Kenneth and Jill Price. They live at 22 Post Office Lane in Chatham. On July 3rd, they write, "We're writing this letter as a butter to the projects listed in the above referenced application numbers, and we are writing in response to the notice and so forth. We write to oppose the relief requested by the applicants and applications 26-053 and also 26-054. The special permits that are requested should be denied. No zoning relief should be granted for the following reasons. 1, the proposed projects are inconsistent with the current use of the neighborhood and should not be allowed to materially alter the current neighborhood. 2, the proposed projects are inconsistent with the current charm of Chatham as a whole and should not be allowed simply because they lay in partially commercial areas. 3, recent projects in our neighborhood have already begun to deteriorate the historic nature of the area, and these further projects should not be allowed to continue the deterioration. 4, in our experience, the current building inspector is unable or unwilling to address the zoning and building issues that arise when projects are provided special permits and/or zoning relief." Then we have a letter that's on the Chatham Ford stationery. It's from John P. Madden, Jr. He writes on, not too sure when, well, we got it on July 6th. I, John Madden, the owner of Chatham Ford, we are directly across the street and are quite pleased that the property was purchased by an established and well-respected real estate development company. Clearly, the proposed project would be an improvement over what exists there now. The addition of 2 apartments would help with the existing housing shortage and be a benefit to the town. I fully support the proposed project of 776 Main Street, and I'm quite confident the finished project will be an improvement. And that's the extent of the correspondence. Did you want to comment on Mr. and Mrs. Price?
I'm not sure what they mean by it is not what the town is encouraging in this area, primarily because we're proposing to create apartments, which is something the town has talked about needing, and we're turning the Washington Taylor House into commercial space, which is by right what the GB zones were created to do. So those are my comments.
Okay, fine. Okay, yes. So now I'm asking if anyone here or on Microsoft Teams would like to speak either against this or has a specific question. And, Mr. Phillips.
Brian Phillips, 374 Orleans Road. Again, I just kind of feel this is a tragedy how this project has been handled. And yes, is it an eyesore now? But, you know, I kind of feel like the buildings were let to go into disrepair so they could knock them down and, you know, build something new, which is, you know, I think you have to agree with me if you've seen the last hearings, because they wanted to demolish both of them. You wouldn't let people change our lighthouse or our windmill, and this is a very historic property. You know, again, I'm very discouraged about what's going on with it, and I think the majority of the community is. I don't think you should grant any special permits for any of these residential apartments or adding on to it. I think it should be restored, you know, in likeness. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Others? Yeah, yes.
Hi, Terry Angelotti. I live at 751 Main Street, kind of catty corner from that. And yes, it is, as everybody has said, it's an eyesore from being there in that situation. One of the things I'm not sure if I understand correctly, they're going to demolish the whole property for this?
No,
So that's wrong?
correct. No.
Okay.
No.
What is that?
Do you want me to explain?
Yes.
Please.
So we are not demolishing either of the structures. We're just putting an addition on the back. So the HBDC approved so stylistically, it will look the same. We do have to basically strip it down to the framing and rebuild it and put new clapboard, shingles, et cetera. But the structure is not being torn down whatsoever, either of them.
But the commercial part is going to be in place of where the
house was, the
where the
first floor.
playhouse or whatever.
Oh, no, this is in the Washington Taylor House.
Yeah.
So it's in the front building, so it was not where the theater was, it was where they had the students stay. So it is structurally, as it is right now, laid out like a traditional single-family home, but is not used as a single-family home and cannot be used as a single-family home. So we'll have to gut the interior of it, but the exterior will not. Obviously, there'll be an addition on the back, which will change it slightly, but it's not being torn down, if that clears it up.
The other comment I had was about the traffic flow. And I know she had commented about they haven't really done that, but that is really close to that light that's right there. It's kind of always really a
Yeah, I think what.
conundrum there, if you will.
I think what Ms. Clark indicated, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that the entrance for parking is going to be from Depot. It is not going to be from Main Street.
No, yeah, but you're going to have to get to it from that. People are coming down Main Street before they when they get to the light, they might turn there, right? Is that going to be the flow?
The flow.
Or the idea of the flow?
You got to get onto Depot Street one way or the other.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was my comment.
Okay. Is there anyone else here today that wishes to join the conversation? Okay. Where is he? Okay, okay. I don't see anything there, but, maybe over there. Okay. So we have online, Mr. Clark.
Good afternoon, how are you doing?
Fine.
Yes, I just wanted to, I was raising my hand because I wanted to clarify before you asked Victoria that question. But yes, when we presented to the HBDC, it was made very clear to us that they did not want to see any of the buildings torn down, and that's what our final plan shows. We are restoring the exterior of the building to the period. So the Washington Taylor House, we're going to take the existing trim off of it, we're going to match it and restore it to exactly what you see there today. Okay, so there's nothing's being demolished as far as the shape of the structure, not being changed. It's just the proposed addition in the back, which again is not in beside the existing structure being non-conforming, similar to the house that was approved two sessions prior to this today. It's the same condition. And there were also a couple of other letters from abutters that were speaking out in positive. Did the board not receive those? Because we have them, they copied us as they sent them, and I'd like to have those read into the record
Yeah.
also, but.
I read everything in our file on this, now on 053. Is there anything different? Is there
Okay.
054? No.
Those are the only two that I received.
So this is it, Mr. Clark.
I think he's thinking of how the applications were separate. The letter from Matthew Cole is, I think, what he's referring to. And that's in the, I think that's the confusion, is because even though we presented them as
okay.
one application, they are, certain letters were only for like one versus the other, I guess, is.
Okay, yeah.
So it's there.
No, if they have both letters, if they have the letter from Matthew Cole and they have the letter from Edson Eldridge, and they're gonna read them in the
No.
second application, then that's fine. But, yeah, we had the
Yeah.
4 different,
We have the Matthew Cole letter, which we'll read in the second app. Don't have the other one we mentioned.
That just means it must not have, he said he was mailing it. That just probably means it didn't arrive in time.
Okay.
That's fine.
All right. Okay, thank you, Mr. Clark. Okay. So, we've heard from everybody, I do believe. So again, we're still on 053. So questions from the board. Let's start with Steve.
Okay, well, there's one point I don't know if I need to make, I don't know if it's important or not, but the letter that we got from HBDC refers to the theater, and we're not discussing the theater.
That's correct.
So I don't know if we should accept this letter from them.
So as the liaison to the HBDC, I didn't write this letter, but they did review and approve the additions. I can show you the plan that I'll share it on my screen because I have it on my computer. This is the rendering and specifically looking at just the Washington Taylor House. They did review and approve both applications.
Okay.
It may have just been an error in the letter that was drafted, but it does show the rendering of the Washington Taylor and the former theater building.
Right, okay. I just wanted to, I didn't know
Fully
if we
approved, no conditions.
Okay, very good. So, and this is maybe some questions that they may have asked you, I don't know. But considering that the first floor of this is now going to be commercial space, are there any plans for any particular changes to the lighting or signage in the future or anything like that?
So we haven't done a full lighting plan for the site yet, because that's also required for the planning board. Regarding individual commercial uses, signage, and lighting, they'll have to go back to the HBDC for their own signage, so we didn't preemptively do any of that.
So you're not getting involved in that?
No.
As part of this, okay. And it sounds like you expect to do some sort of restoration of the building as well as a renovation by adding the additions, is that correct? So what we see today is going to be what we're going to see in the future, but maybe slightly improved, hopefully improved?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe the only difference is on the second floor, if Sarah pulls up the renderings, the HBDC had us put dormers on the second floor because right now, the way the ceiling is sloped, those bedrooms and living spaces that we have proposed wouldn't have natural light if we did not put dormers, because they're only, the way the ceiling height and design, there's only windows on the front and back of the structure. So the dormers is the only big change to what you would see now. But otherwise, it'll be the same.
Okay, all right, very good, thank you.
Lee.
Okay, well, I think I've finally gotten my head around this. Because I actually thought your proposal was what I see on the site plan, which includes the old theater building as well. But what we're talking about right now is the
Washington Taylor House.
the old house in the front of the property.
Yes,
That's all we're talking about.
That's it.
Okay. Okay. And in terms of it's confusing and a little bit misleading in that you talk about the proposed lot coverage, which includes whatever renovation you're going to do to the theater sometime in the future, as well as the potential parking lot.
That is because, so GB2, it's not building coverage, it's lot, so that's just the way the engineer has calculated it. I believe the proposed building coverage of the two structures is 11.8% of the total, so the two structures together. The footprint, the new proposed footprint is about 2% of the lot coverage of just the front structure.
Right.
Because it's.
That's why I'm confused.
Yeah, no, understandably so. It's hard to, because we are just coming in front of one building, and obviously we're not going, because the site plan shows everything, we're not going to
Yeah,
remove the other structure.
Okay.
It gets complicated, and.
I think I understand now. Okay, I think that's, as long as I understand exactly what I'm looking at for this application, even though it says a lot of the other stuff in it, I understand. I guess I would like to just focus on the Washington Taylor house right now, and the two apartments that you're proposing. And I wish I didn't have all this other stuff. That's basically what I'm trying to say. Thanks.
I guess my question is you're still working on grading for the site and drainage. But grading for the site determines your height. And so I don't know how we evaluate that or approve something if we can't determine what the height of the structures are.
So we're working on the grading in more so the parking lot and the walkways that lead from the parking lot to the front buildings, just because there is, as it exists right now, a dramatic drop-off. It's pretty much settled, which is why, as you can see on the site plan, the steps into the commercial spaces right now do not meet code, so they'll need ramps to go up into them, which is something we were working on with David, but the building's height as it exists now is below 30 feet, and the new ridge is below the existing building, so it won't be above 30 feet.
I don't know if I agree with that. Just because it's grading after, when you're finished with a project around the building, that will actually determine the height. Jay?
Jay Briggs, Building Commissioner. They do propose a building height for that Washington Taylor house for 24 feet, 7¼ inches. That's their proposed height, so. I know they have to take finished grade into account, but.
As long as they meet that, I
It could
guess.
be, yeah, there could be some variation there.
Yeah.
but-
So as long as your final grading plan math works to calculate that height, they should be okay.
Can I address that?
Sure.
Yes, Mr. Clark?
Yes. So to answer your question, yes. So David Clark's calculations are taken off of the new elevated grade for getting access up to those entry doors. So the existing doors into the Washington Taylor house currently are a couple of steps up. We have to make them handicap accessible. So if you look at that site plan, this is why it's complicated, because the site plan can't be completely developed until we know exactly what's going to get approved, because it changes the requirements of parking and other things based upon what we get approved. But you see the Washington Taylor house, and you can see the series of walkways to the west along Main Street, and on the east side facing towards the laundromat and the liquor store property. Those walkways, he's added those in, and he's changed the grades on those. So he has taken that into consideration. The only grading that's not finalized is the grading at the rear parking lot. So his calculation of telling you the ridge height on this building is based off of these design elevations, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Paul?
Well, let me just follow up a little bit. Why not present both buildings at the same time?
It's just something we decided to face, just
I'm just
we may do
thinking,
this.
And also, I think Sarah has a better answer.
As proposed, based on the site plan that they've provided in this application, the theater building, former theater building, does not require ZBA approval. None of the uses, all of the proposed uses are by right. It meets all the setbacks, so there's no trigger for it to come to the Board of Appeals at this time.
okay. So, I guess in my mind, I'm trying to think how the development of the theater building impacts the site itself within the context of what we're looking to approve. I did look at the planning board hearing, and they raised a lot of issues that I would have raised in their context and probably would have raised in connection with this hearing, because of the impact on the field, you know, the athletic field, but also the grading and the drop-off from the upper level of the parking lot down to the buildings. So all of those things are sort of swirling around in my mind at the same time. I'm trying to evaluate this proposal. My inclination is to say that I probably don't have any problem with the overall proposal, but I'm a little uneasy going forward without having the ability to look at what the both buildings would be and what the site would look like when it's completed. So that's my overall thought for you to consider.
Jenny?
Okay, you can add me to the number of people that are confused. So I've heard you say both buildings. I've heard you say Part 2 will be the other building. Is 768 the other building that you're talking about?
768 is the one we're in front of you right now. 776, the problem is the buildings both had separate addresses. Oh, sorry. The buildings originally had separate addresses when we bought the property. Since then, the buildings have always been identified as separate properties, but it has always been referred to in assessing as 776, which is why when we presented the application, applied for it as 776 Main Street, Washington Taylor House.
Yeah.
It is confusing because Clark Engineering has both addresses on the separate buildings, which had hypothetically we known that was going to be the case with the site plan, we would have applied for this as 768 to kind of clear up any confusion, but that is now an afterthought that would have made a lot of the questions disappear.
Well, that is very helpful because that's what I was struggling with the whole time. Like, how is 768 fitting into this? Because, okay, so there is not really a Part 2 because the theater building, as Sarah just said, doesn't need to come to us. Is that right? So this is it for us?
Yes.
Okay. See, I thought too that we were then going to hear 768 at our next hearing. So that's where I was confused. I do think the site plan is very difficult to interpret. So, you know, our print is even smaller than that. This is sort of zoomed out for the corner, and we're seeing all of it. But so if we're confused and we have all of this paperwork, there could be that some of the town folks, that's what they're not responding to in their letters because they don't fully understand either. Okay, so those were my main questions. Just to confirm, there is no entry to any of this from Main Street?
Driving, no. There'll be still walkways from Main Street to the entrances, but cars, no entrance from Main Street.
Okay, so all of the vehicular traffic will be behind all of this?
Yes.
Through Depot Road? Okay, so there are some trees on the front, which is 768, which is really 776, okay, right? Yes. And it looks like, you know, you're not going to be able to probably keep that dogwood, but is there any possibility of keeping, there look to be two, I don't know, I think they were maple trees that really kind of anchor each end. They're far enough away, they're not in the way of but the fact that they are sort of, and this isn't really a zoning thing, but I just wanted to mention that I think it'd be nice to see if we could try to save those, just the two, You know which ones I'm talking about?
I do. That's something we can look into. We
Yeah.
have hired a landscape architect for the project, and that's something that we can mention to them.
And the reason I mention that is because they are, you know, they're large, they're not really large, but there is a Main Street aspect to the front of this where shade trees are nice to have, and to take them out and put in something that's, you know, fraction of that size would be, I think, a missed opportunity. So, I mean, it's out of our lane, but I just wanted to make that comment.
I appreciate that. That's something we can take to our landscape architect.
Thank you.
Paul?
I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Could I just ask one question of Sarah?
Sure.
Sarah, can you correct me if I'm wrong on this, but if we were not to seek this addition on the Washington Taylor House and not seek to put 2 apartments, which the town has been saying for the past couple of years to us that they would like to see some rental apartments, then we don't have to bring this project in front of the zoning board for this Washington Taylor House either, correct?
Correct. So if you just restored and did all commercial uses, it would just be site plan approval through the planning board and no
Okay,
zoning
thank
board
you.
requirement.
Thank you.
Okay. Paul?
I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Ed seconds and votes yes.
Paul votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, let's start. Ed?
Conceptually, I like the plan. I think it's an improvement from what we've seen. I like the idea of the apartments. I feel like HBDC has, you know, done a good job, and my overall thoughts on the project is I think it's going to certainly be an improvement.
Paul?
Well, my thought is that I would like to see what the planning board is going to require with respect to the site and the lighting and the impact on the neighborhood. And I don't see a reason why we can't wait for that information to come in before we actually vote on this particular application. So I would like to defer it if we could.
Jenny?
So I like the mixed use that's being proposed in the GB2. And, you know, being retail and also apartments. Agree with what you've said, Victoria, and what Mr. Clark has just said. It is what we have heard over and over, that the town wants some additional housing. So that's what they want right now. The fact that you are not tearing it down, that may have been a misconception as well in some of the confusion, and are restoring it, and Historic has made some specifications, and you're doing that. You're taking off the trim, you're having it custom millwork created based on that. So there's something to be commended for efforts to restore what is, what the town really sees, which is 768. And that, I think, is, it is a very positive thing that I see this as being an improvement to what's there, with the effort to keep that historic home, or keep the historic property. And I really think that that is, what you've proposed incorporates all of that, from what I understand. And so I'm supportive of it.
Steve?
Well, I'm glad to see that there's finally some movement on this property, because it's been a long time, and it was gonna be, you know, phase 2 of a different project, and now we're talking about it being phase 1, so that's good. I'm glad to see that something's finally being done with that property before it falls into much more decay. I'm not sure the planning board isn't waiting to hear from us partially to see what we're planning to do and if we're going to allow this addition to happen. So they may be waiting for us as much as we might be waiting for them. So I wouldn't be opposed to moving ahead with this project, the restoration project and the addition. I think it's a good idea, and to see something finally happening with that building.
Lee?
So I agree with my colleagues. I like a lot about this project. I like the mixed-use portion of it. I like the restoration of a historic structure. And I commend you guys for, making the effort and really, doing it correctly. And I did also watch the planning board's committee regarding this whole proposal, and I liked a lot of what they had to say too. They had some serious concerns about some aspects of it, and I think they're on the right track with guiding you guys as to what might make the most sense. So I'm in favor of it as well. I mean, I do think it's an improvement, and I like the apartments, and if it's restored, I think it'll be a nice addition to Main Street.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, it's time. It's time. It's time to do something. And I wouldn't want to back off on this and have you revert to saying, well, okay, we won't do the addition and we won't do the apartments. I mean, that's really going backwards when you are offering to go forwards. And so I hear what Paul says, but I don't need to wait. They'll take care of it themselves. And what they decide on the theater, as we've said, really isn't our concern. So, Paul?
I'll move to approve the application as submitted. I guess the question would be what conditions, if any, we need with respect to the construction. What are your plans as to when you actually would go ahead with this?
It wouldn't be any time until much after Labor Day, because we still have to submit a month in advance to go in front of planning, get final planning approval, get full construction drawings done, so construction wouldn't start until after Labor Day by any means.
And there's obviously plenty of room on the site to contain vehicles and so
Yes.
forth, right? All right, well, I'll just move to approve the application as submitted then.
Ed, how do you vote? Well, we need a second. And then
Ed seconds and votes yes.
Paul?
All right, Paul will vote yes. I second.
Ginny?
Ginny votes yes.
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, that's on application 053. That's a unanimous vote. How about that, huh? Okay, now let's do the second part, which is the apartments. Yes, so that was, as mentioned, Mr. Cole. This is Matthew Cole, 782 Main Street. We're writing in support of the proposed construction project. We are the owners of the neighboring property at 782 and directly abut the site. The applicant took the time to thoughtfully review the project plans dated April 21st and show us the improvements they plan to make. We believe the addition of 2 residential apartments will be a positive benefit to the community. Given the ongoing housing crisis in our area, these units represent a welcome opportunity to help meet local housing needs. We are confident they will be in high demand and serve as an asset to Chatham. Thank you for your time and consideration of this matter. We respectfully support the application and the proposed project. So, questions on 054? Anyway, this is does anybody have any questions? Okay. Paul?
I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Ed seconds and votes yes.
All vote yes?
Ginny votes yes.
I vote yes.
Okay, and I vote yes. So, Ginny, how do you feel about the apartments? Deliberations.
Oh, deliberations.
Yeah.
I think that I like them. I think that they are, I think the Clarks have listened to our feedback for a long time, and I think that this is, their proposal is reflective of a mixed-use GB2. And the town does need housing, so I like the apartments.
Steve?
I think it's a good use of that property. There'll be some activity there that there isn't any right now, and we need some housing, and I think that's going to help out with that, so I think it's a good idea.
Lee?
I agree with my colleagues.
Ed?
Yeah, I agree as well. I think that is what GB2 is for, mixed use. And I think it's going to be a nice addition to Main Street.
Paul?
I also agree with my colleagues.
And I certainly do.
All right, I'll move to approve the application as submitted.
Ed seconds and votes yes.
Paul votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. That's 2 unanimous votes.
Only took 6 years.
Well, look, is today your birthday? Because the previous lady was her birthday or something like that, so.
No, but thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, and your presentation was wonderful, so thank you. Well, I think we're going to take a 5-minute break. So, folks in the production booth, 5-minute break, please. Thank you. All right, everybody. Hello, hello. We're back. We're back. And again, to the folks who were here 2 weeks ago, we had to pull the plug on you. I apologize again. It's not going to happen tonight. Well, I don't think. We could have lightning or God knows what. I shouldn't say that, right? Mr. Norcross, I think we need to read a few things first.
Sure. Application number 26-042, Queen Anne Chatham LLC, care of James M. Norcross Esquire, P.O. Box 707, Chatham, Mass. 02633. Owner of property located at 70 Queen Anne Road, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 13E, Block 15, Lot 14. The applicant seeks dimensional variances from the buildable upland area requirements for 5 additional rental units and 2 additional staff/managers apartments. A dimensional variance is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 10, and Section 8D2C of the Protective Bylaw. Under application number 26-043, the applicant proposes to change, alter, or expand a non-conforming hotel/restaurant on a conforming lot via the removal of the restaurant to allow for the renovation of the inn to create 5 additional rental units and renovation of guest house number 1 to allow for 2 additional staff/manager apartments. The existing inn is non-conforming and that is located 20.7 feet from the road where a 40-foot setback is required, and 23.5 feet from the southeasterly abutter where a 25-foot setback is required. Guest house number 1 is non-conforming and that is located 14.2 feet from the southwesterly abutter where a 25-foot setback is required. The structure contains 34 rental units plus staff/manager apartment on a lot containing 57,848 square feet of buildable upland where 112,000 square feet is required. The proposed 5 rental units and 2 staff manager quarter apartments require an additional 35,000 square feet of buildable upland area. The building coverage will remain non-conforming at 8,891 square feet, 15.4%, where 10% is the maximum allowed. The lot contains 65,512 square feet in an R40 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 6, and Section 5B of the Protective Bylaw. These were continued from June 25th, 2026.
So, Jamie, I guess we'll start with you telling us any new developments or whatnot, and then we have a new letter to read.
Yes.
So the floor is yours.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
For the record, Jamie Norcross on behalf of the Hajar family, who is here again today in the audience. Just to start, and not really germane to the application, but just for the knowledge of the board, there have been some articles that were in the news recently about a dispute, a legal dispute between 2 prior owners of the Queen Anne Inn. And just for the knowledge of the board, I think it's important to know that that does not involve the Hajar family in any matter. So you knew that going forward. So I guess the benefit of a continuance is we had a chance to go over some of the initial questions that we had. So I just want to touch on a few points, and I imagine there'll be some more questions from some of the members who didn't get a chance 2 weeks ago. Under the variance criteria, as you know, there's a 3-part criteria, and one of which relates to the shape of the structure, the lot or the structure, not affecting generally the zoning district in which it is located. And one thing I did not mention at the last hearing is the fact that the building we're talking about has a gross floor area in excess of 20,000 square feet, and it's located in the R20 zoning district. Now, I know this board deals with large homes from time to time, but that is exceedingly large for a structure within a residential zoning district, and one that can only be used for the current use as operated today, or it can be some form of residential structure. Second piece of the variance criteria, another item I wanted to mention related to substantial hardship, is that because of the scope of the renovations that the Hajar family is going to undertake at the property, it triggers accessibility requirements under the state code, one of which is to have 2 accessible guest rooms at the property where none currently exist. And so while it's not impossible to modify existing rooms to make them in compliance with the accessibility code, it's exceedingly difficult, extensive work, including modifying the rooms, load-bearing walls, et cetera, extremely costly. And so part of the proposal, as you know, are the 2 accessible guest rooms located on the main floor of the inn. And even if they modify existing guest rooms, they may or may not meet all of the accessibility requirements, in which case they'd have to seek additional variances from the accessibility board. But the 2 rooms that we were proposing absolutely meet all the criteria of the accessibility board, and they're tailor-made for guests who have accessibility issues and need rooms such as these. So again, I think the inability to construct those rooms in the old restaurant kitchen space, I would suggest, creates a hardship to my client. One of the issues that was brought up related to the buildable upland requirement and how we are short of that. As you know and have heard, it's 3,000 square feet under our bylaw for each rental unit, 10,000 square feet for each employee quarters. So according to the bylaw, we require 35,000 square feet of additional buildable upland, which of course we do not have. What I think is missing from the calculation in this instance is any credit for the removal of the restaurant, because the bylaw doesn't have a buildable upland requirement for a restaurant use. And so if the intent of the buildable upland requirement is to control or limit density or intensification of a property, from a practical perspective, it seems that 5 additional guest rooms in lieu of a 50-seat restaurant is going to represent far less of an intensification of the property than currently exists. But the fact of the matter is there's no metric under our zoning bylaw that provides us to say, yes, the 5 additional guest rooms and the 2 managers or employee quarters requires 35,000 square feet of additional area, but there's no metric to say, well, a restaurant requires X number of square feet. And I think from a practical perspective, looking at it, and the intent, again, I assume, was to limit and control density. We're removing a restaurant use, there's no metric for that, but the overall impact on the property is going to be far less than currently exists. Another issue that was discussed was parking. And we've discussed this extensively with the Hajars, and even with the additional 5 guest rooms, they're confident that the parking can be contained on site in an appropriate manner. They have discussed with Chatham Valet as the option of providing valet services for the property, and Chatham Valet said, absolutely, we can manage cars on this site. There's no need to take them off site. And so the Hajars have explained to me, because they have extensive experience in this industry, that busiest times for this type of establishment are July and August, as you probably expect, and Thursday through Friday. They don't get a lot of week-long stays. They have a 2-night minimum as opposed to some of the other establishments in town that have a 5-night minimum. And so they're willing to engage a third-party valet company or use employees to set up to do valet during the peak season. So really the summertime, Thursday through Sunday, they would have valet service available for guests. In the event there's a need to assist with parking for guests. I think it's also important to mention on the parking requirement, the current use actually requires 10 more spaces than the proposed use, because we're removing the restaurant, which requires, I believe it's 12 or 13 parking spaces based on the number of seats. And so even with just not looking at just the numbers, but the overall impact, the inn is able to far better control parking with just an inn use than it is with a restaurant use. All of their guests have reservations. They know when they're coming. They know how long they're staying. There's check-in times. There's checkout times. With a restaurant, you're dealing with a situation where people show up for dinner. They don't have a reservation. They show up to use the bar. You can't control that. With an end use, of which they have a great deal of experience, you know and have a knowledge of how many cars are coming to the property and when they're coming. We also discussed with the Hajars, they use a 1 week prior to check-in, they call it an onboarding system. They reach out to the guests, find out any particular needs, et cetera, and as part of that, they can make a determination through the onboarding system, does this particular guest need a car or not? So again, they'll know, yes, these guests are coming and staying room 5, they're gonna have 1 car. Room 4, they're flying into Hyannis Airport and they're taking an Uber. They're gonna understand that and they're gonna know that ahead of time, so you don't have the surprise element that may be encountered or likely is encountered with a restaurant use. Off-season and Monday through Wednesday, they don't anticipate being at full capacity, and so the existing parking, with the proposed additional spaces and probably the existing parking is more than sufficient to satisfy their needs. So they don't believe valet is required during that time period, but again, they're happy to engage valet during the peak season to accommodate a time when they may have full capacity, which would be a good problem to have. And again, they're going to know when they're going to be at full capacity, so they can be prepared for the guests and for the parking issues so that they can solve them before any problems arise. In an effort to further reduce parking concerns, the Hajars have reached out to nearby property owners to secure, we'll call it a license or a lease for 5 to 7 cars. There's a letter from the owner across the street. I guess I would disagree with his statement that I said they had an agreement last time. I think I said they were talking, but regardless, they remain talking, and Mr. Hajar sent him a license agreement to review. Haven't heard back yet, but that is a possibility. I also spoke with Ron Rudnick, who owns 46 Oyster Pond Furlong, which is just down the street, the road in between the Queen Anne Road and, the Queen Anne Inn and the Village Market. It's the warehouse building down there. There's a great deal of space behind that building unused. And he said he's certainly willing to engage in a lease agreement for 5 to 7 parking spaces with the Hajars. Again, they're confident that cars can be maintained on site, but that would just provide a buffer and some additional protection, perhaps for the board, to know that they are willing to have that in place if the unforeseen event arises and they're unable to accommodate cars on site, which again, we don't anticipate to be the case. So that would be the remainder of the presentation, and then happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. So I will read that letter you referred to. Stated July 8th, and it's from David and Christopher Lazoulis. They are the owners of the Bow Roof House at 59 Queen Anne Road. We're writing on behalf of the Bow Roof House to clarify the record regarding a statement made by Mr. Norcross at the board's meeting on June 25th, in which it was indicated that we had reached an agreement with Mr. Hajar concerning parking. We want to be clear that this is not accurate. No parking agreement between our two properties has been finalized or agreed to at this time. We're currently reviewing a proposed parking arrangement with Mr. Hajar, together with our legal counsel. Expect to reach a decision by the end of the week. Until that review is complete and both parties have signed off, no agreement should be considered in effect, and we do not intend to represent otherwise to the board. For additional clarity, no formal overflow parking agreement was ever in place with the previous owners. There was an informal verbal understanding that the previous owners and guests with disabilities staying at the Queen Anne Inn could park on one side of our lot. However, this understanding was never documented or formalized in any written or quote-unquote handshake agreement. To make our broader position clear, we support the plans to renovate the inn and believe these improvements will be a positive addition to the neighborhood. At the same time, we share the concern expressed by Board Member Fenwick regarding parking, which is one of the issues we are continuing to evaluate as we review the proposed parking arrangement. We appreciate the board's attention to this matter and welcome the opportunity to provide further clarification at the board's convenience. Okay, so I think, unless you feel differently, we should go back to any specific questions that the board members might have at this time before we move along.
That's fine.
Good? Okay. Ed, do you have any further questions that have come up to light?
I do not.
Paul?
Just in looking at the variance issues, what was your client's plan when they purchased the property in terms of how they were going to use it?
Well, they were going to use it as an inn and perhaps a restaurant, potentially, but they always were looking at the possibility of adding rooms. So really, the restaurant use was never something they wanted to pursue. Again, if it's something they have to utilize the space for, they're willing to do it. But they understood it required permitting and approvals. They weren't under an assumption it was a guarantee you could add rooms. But again, they thought it made sense in lieu of using the restaurant, and also the employee housing would be a real benefit to them and to the employees.
Okay, so they understood that they were taking a bit of a risk with respect to the question of whether that concept would be approved.
Correct. They knew it was an unknown.
Is the expense of doing handicap access to the property substantially more than it would be to go forward with the plan that you have now?
I believe the architect, Derek Rubinoff, is on. Derek, would you be able to answer that?
Hello, everybody. I'm Derek Rubinoff from Derek Rubinoff Architecture, 84 Spring Street in West Roxbury. If you don't mind just repeating that question so I can fully understand it, please.
I'm trying to get a feel for what the expense would be of making revisions to the in-building in order to get your handicap access that's required.
Okay, if I try to answer that, so we're spending more than $100,000 on the building, so we're triggering the accessible front entry and toilet room, and then we're, I believe, going past a third of the 30% of the value of the building, not including the land. So we were required to make the entire building accessible. We've already gone through a process with the Massachusetts Architectural Access Board to obtain the necessary variances. We were granted all the variances that we need. So in terms of expense, I'm still,
Derek,
make sure I try to answer
Paul,
your
if
question.
sorry to interrupt. I think your question, Paul, is the difference in cost to renovate an existing room to make it handicap accessible versus constructing the new handicap accessible rooms?
Correct.
Does that make sense, Derek?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
The existing rooms, the quarter on the side that's closer to the ocean, that quarter is too narrow to comply for somebody in a wheelchair to go down that quarter and get in a room, and those rooms are too small as they are right now. So significant. Those are bearing walls on either side of that corridor. So you'd have to do significant structural work up and down the building to get somebody into one of those rooms and make them comply with the accessibility requirements. On the side of the building with the restaurant, there are, I believe it's 3 units that are along the Queen Anne Road there. Just flipping through my drawing right now. Those are not very deep units, and so even combining those into 2 units, I think, would still be difficult structurally to make them work. It was just far easier to use a disused portion of this very old kitchen. Today's kitchens can be much smaller than commercial kitchens could be much smaller. We do a lot of restaurant work, so I know this. Than what this kitchen, which is decades old, is, and so there was just ample opportunity to reuse a significant amount of this, what today would be wasted space, to do something very positive, which was create these additional rooms for accessible use for handicapped people. So the answer is I can't give you a dollar amount because we'd have to look at several different options and try to quantify the cost of those. But what I would say is there would be significant structural challenges and reworking required to make this fit. There's a stairway that's near the corridor on the restaurant side that might even have to be moved as part of the.
Jamie, you've done a very good job of explaining the basis for variance and making arguments with respect to it. I'm having a little trouble with the concept of why your clients don't simply continue the same kind of use that has been going on for decades, an inn and a restaurant, as opposed to ending up killing the restaurant and having excess space that they don't know what to do with other than to come before us for a variance. I'm trying to figure out why that's necessary, given the ability to go forward with the inn as it exists now.
Well, I think the answer to that, Paul, is a couple things. One is They just don't see a combined restaurant in use for this property as the best use for it, given the limitations. They think strictly using it as an inn is the best model for the property, and they would prefer to have, again, the more rooms, and then folks can eat in the downtown restaurants. The second part of it is restaurants really are not generally their business. They operate inns, so they would prefer to focus on an inn operation. But I think the more important part is, again, if you look at it for how it impacts the property, they think just an inn use is really a best use for that property, as opposed to trying to utilize a restaurant in that location.
Okay, I have no other questions.
Jamie, something came to me this week, just a thought, and it has to do with the full bar license that I presume exists for that restaurant. And as I understand it, you can transfer a liquor license to someone who's using the same space. For instance, TK's or whatever it is, they took over the license that the previous folks had there. So, if you don't use it, it goes into the, I don't know if you can sell it. I don't know if it goes into a pot that the town would hand out. You know, I think, what is there, 18 full liquor licenses? I don't know. So tell me what I'm aiming at is the Chatham Inn, back when it was the Cranberry Inn, had a full liquor license. They didn't have a restaurant at that time, which they do now. But there was just a little room. You walked in the front door and you go in the little room, and it was like a little bar set up. Oh, you want a drink? Sure, you know. Is that what's going to happen to the liquor license that exists now for the Queen Anne Inn? Or is there something else that I don't understand?
No, so there would be, if there's a liquor license for the Hajars, they would just be serving beverages to guests. So it's not going to be available for non-guests. Again, they're going to have a breakfast service, continental breakfast, with the small kitchen in the common area, and then there'd be a bar area for guests to get a cocktail in the afternoon or the evening, but it's not available to the general public.
Is that possible to exclude the general public? I believe this lady probably has an answer or two. Oh,
Hi.
hello.
My name is Megan Yaps. I'm the general manager of the Queen Anne Inn. The liquor license that was held by the previous ownership at the Queen Anne Inn was a seasonal license. So it's not one that is of the rare commodity of a year-round full liquor license. It was a seasonal full liquor license. So
Okay.
we don't have to worry about that. And we're able to apply for a new one on our own without having to transfer. Because there's
see.
unlimited seasonal licenses here in town.
Uh-huh. So there's going to be a little bar, maybe? Is that right?
And we would like to be able to offer the ability for guests to purchase a bottle of wine and enjoy it in our garden. We would like to be able to, if a guest is coming for their honeymoon or a special occasion, be able to provide a complimentary bottle of champagne in room as a welcome amenity. If someone is out by the pool, we'd love for them to be able to enjoy a cocktail by the pool in a plastic appropriate piece of glassware. We also, if a family member is having a baby or celebrating an occasion and they wanted to do a small gathering, we would love to be able to offer them the appropriate beverages to celebrate. We're not looking to have a Friday night party every night. Believe me, that's the last thing that I want to be doing on a Friday evening as the general manager.
Sounds like you'd be the waitress too, yeah.
Exactly. Your general manager and of this sort does wear a lot of hats.
Yeah.
So, but no, we are not in the market to have a full, bar, out of control, cafe, liquor situation. No, it really would be just for in-house guests.
Okay, so you feel it is legal to exclude, if somebody walked in off the street and say, hey, I want a martini, You can tell them to get lost?
No, I mean, if they've had too much to drink already, then I would
could
be a
be.
legal requirement to tell them, no, you, sir, you cannot have another martini. As the holder of a liquor license, that is my obligation. But, you know, if someone wanders in off the street, or if, you know, there are family members in town, we do have a lot of guests who come to stay at the inn because their kids or their grandkids have houses and they just need an overflow place to stay. So say that one of their children wants to come and enjoy a drink with them, that is, I'm obviously not going to turn them away, no.
Okay.
We are in the hospitality business after all.
Yeah, all right, so it'd be kind of like a mini bar available to your guests.
Yes, without an actual minibar.
So you would end up being the waitress? Is that what
I have
you're
an
saying?
incredible team, so.
I see, okay. All right, well, I was just wondering about
That's a
that.
good question,
you know.
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize, thank you, Megan, I didn't realize it was a seasonal license there. Okay, all right. Jenny, go ahead.
Well, I asked a lot of questions last time, and I think I actually took up all of our time. I apologize to my colleagues that you didn't get to ask questions last
We've got
time.
all night tonight.
So I only have one left. If you could just clarify, Jamie, I think you said this at the beginning, just clarify. Because of current zoning, the only thing that could be is an inn or a single-family home. Is that what you said?
I believe that's correct. It'd have to be, I don't think you could even do condominiums or multifamily.
Right,
So it would
right,
just be
okay.
a single-family home or the current use.
Okay, thank you.
Steve?
I'm happy with the questions that have been asked.
Lee?
No questions.
Okay. Okay, well, Paul?
I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Ed seconds and votes yes.
All votes yes.
Jeannie votes yes.
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. So who would like to start? I don't see any volunteers. Ed?
I guess, I don't know, I feel like we have somewhat of an obligation to help the town and help businesses in the town and see that businesses succeed. That doesn't mean we necessarily have to provide a variance for that. But I see this property as important to the town. I feel 5 guest rooms is certainly less intensive than a restaurant. And I think Jamie's done a good job explaining the criteria for a variance. And typically, you know, variances are very hard to meet. It's a very high standard. But there is leeway here and there with a variance, and I feel I could support this project.
Paul?
Well, I've struggled a bit with this property because I would like to see the business continue on. And I think it could continue on as it has existed for the last number of years. Unfortunately, the current owners would like to change that, and that's what's creating the question of variance or non-variance, when I don't know that it's actually necessary. When you look at the standards for the variance and look at the question of whether there are soil conditions, shape, or topography of the land or a structure or a building, the building is not is large, but it's not that unusual. It's the topography or the shape of the lot is larger than the lot at 77 Queen Anne Road, but it's the same configuration in terms of the narrowing rectangle. And I feel that, to a large extent, the need for a variance is self-imposed. has been created by the applicant because of their concept that they want to change the way the business operates. And that's fine, but that's something that they knew really ahead of even purchasing the property, and they understood the conditions that were involved. So my inclination is to say that it does not come to the satisfaction of the standards for a variance as set forth by the statute. Unfortunately, we're controlled by that as opposed to our desire to simply continue the business. And the way the particular owners want to operate the business, in this case, they're sophisticated, they know what they're doing, and they've taken on that risk. I'm concerned that they've not necessarily met the standard.
Jenny?
Yeah, I agree with what Ed was saying, that, historic inns like the Queen Anne Inn are important local landmarks. I also think that there's, maybe obligation is not the right word, but we're in a position to help with, I think that, I agree that with a previous comment that, Jamie, you've done a great job in going through the criteria. I do think that owing to the circumstances related to the shape of the structure, I think that and also the hardship, it's not a financial one, it's an otherwise. The otherwise is zoning. The zoning for this property was imposed upon this inn years ago, and it's been an inn that's been operating for 150 years. So the way I think of it is the conversion of the kitchen is a smart use of changing that for it to be a successful property and an inn. And I think that is a contemporary solution to what they see today as business owners of other properties like this. So I think it's a smart conversion. The alternative, if it's not those 20,000 square feet for the two affordable housing, is that it would just be unused, or it would be this kitchen that they really don't want to have. And I don't think that that's smart. I think that the town is talking about housing for workforce housing every day, all day. And here are two options, two of them that are being proposed. So when I look at, and I talked a little bit about this last time, you're 54,000 square feet short today, and that seems like an off-putting, like, oh my gosh, how could you ask for more when you have 54,000? But you've been short that for over 150 years, and we made that point last time. I also look at then, okay, so I kind of remove that from the big number of 89,000, and I'm comfortable with that. I then look at the next ask, which is 20,000 square feet for the 2 units of workforce housing. And I say that I think that's a great use of that 20,000 square feet and the conversion of that kitchen. So for me, the ask is the extra 15,000 for 5 rental units. And what we're getting in exchange for that is no change to height, no change to footprint. They have agreed to the historic asks that which I think are very important, and they're costly. I watched the historic hearing, and they wanted wood shingle siding instead of, composite and something that could last longer, and immediately agreed right at the hearing. They asked for real wood millwork for the front entryway, not the entire structure, the front entryway, because there is a difference in seeing the wood. And I was, again, we're not the historic board, but I think that was an important ask. And I asked also if there was consideration of the shutters. That was something else that historic brought up. Those details aren't for this discussion, but I was impressed with the willingness to honor the historic features of the inn, and so I think that is part of the offset of the kitchen, which seems to be part of the problem. So again, going back to what we're getting, we're getting those 2 units of workforce housing. We're getting greater the accessibility for those 5 new apartments not apartments, but rental units that will be, meet the code. And so I feel as though it's a proposal that is workable. I think the biggest concern I had was parking, and I think you've addressed that today. The fact, I didn't realize that by getting rid of the kitchen, you get 12 additional parking spots. I wasn't factoring that into my number last time. And so I'm now comfortable with the parking. Additionally, with the recognition that you shared today of, no, we'll have this nailed down. This isn't well, maybe if we need it. No, we understand we may need it, and we're going to have a plan for it. And that plan is this valet situation and possibly the folks across the street, but that is something that is being recognized and being part of what's proposed. So so getting then to criteria 3, is desirable relief, could that be granted without substantial detriment to the public good? I think we're saving the inn, we're making improvements to housing opportunities. We are giving the Hajars a little extra income to take on this project. The site visit showed just how enormous that project is. It's in terrible disrepair. And it's a significant and important historic property in downtown, and it can't be used for anything else except for a house. So I think it meets all the criteria, and not only is it, is not a detriment to the public good or derogates from the bylaw, I think it is doing something substantially good. So I will leave it there. I support it.
Steve?
Well, it sounds like the applicant is not in the restaurant business and they would prefer not to have it. So I think repurposing that space where the kitchen and restaurant is now is an excellent idea. It does a few things. It helps preserve the internal architecture of the rest of the building so that they don't have to destroy hallways and door openings in the rest of the building to accommodate ADA rooms. So I think that's an excellent idea that you came up with. And you're still going to have a small kitchen or an eating area. So I think that's a great idea without damaging the rest of the building. The inn has been there, I guess, primarily in the size that it is now, on the lot that it is, where it is now. And it's been operating for over 100 years. And if it wasn't feasible to run an inn on that property, it wouldn't be an inn probably years ago. It would have come up with some other plan for that property. So if the property couldn't sustain the inn the way it is now, it would have been gone, I think, probably a long time ago. So I don't have a problem with the need for the extra space. 35,000 square feet for 5 rooms seems, I don't know, unfair. It's an unfair ask. I know it's part of what's required, but I mean, that's the size of several large houses, and to require that amount of space for 5 rooms, I think seems unreasonable. So I don't have a problem with that. I think it's a great project, and it's important to the town to keep that building and to keep it up and running. And I have no issues whatsoever with whatever you're trying to do.
Lee?
Okay, well, I will be brief. I am in favor of this. I think there's lots of positive things that will come out of it. I think that, I've been in town long enough that I've seen a lot of these old, quaint, important inns disappear. And we've had so many that have been turned into either housing or one home or whatever it is. And I think the town needs these, quaint, special, historic inns. And I'm always in support of local businesses in town and whatever we can do to help them out. So I think when it comes to the criteria, I think that the unique conditions is the historical nature of this building. I mean, there aren't other buildings like that in this district that are an inn. So I think that it's, it's really important to keep it running, renovated, which obviously everyone has said needs significant renovation. And I agree with Ginny when she said the hardship is the zoning that's being imposed on this inn that has been there for so long that, I think that's a hardship to them because they can't do what they want to do. The fact that they're not changing the footprint at all is very important to me. They're doing everything internally, and they are, going to get some ADA compliant rooms, and that's important. And in terms of the relief that may be granted without substantial detriment, I think it's a help to the town and the people of Chatham. Providing a historical inn, providing a workplace for some J1 or whatever the workers, whatever they are. I get confused. And, having employees that will, work at the inn and make the inn profitable and give us service and a place for people to stay. So I'm in favor, and I really commend the Hajars for taking this project on.
You like this, don't you, Jamie? Jamie can count. He's thinking to himself, okay, there's 3 yeses and 1 noses. And that leaves it up to me, doesn't it? Well, let's look at number 1. The ask is huge, but it needs to be, and I understand that. So I'm not too concerned about what you want to do, but when I look, it has to be a variance. And when I look at the criteria for a variance, particularly the hardship, and Paul hit on, it's self-generated because they bought it, and it's what it is. There's nothing that changed after that and whatnot. And number 2, when you look at it from an economic standpoint, it's not a hardship that you can't make X dollars, or you can't make another 10%, or you can't make another, that's not a hardship either. But what changes the game is eliminating the restaurant, and I don't know why anybody wants to be in the restaurant business in this day and age. Does anybody want to be in the restaurant business? I don't think so. It's so difficult, and those that are in it, there's a secret to it, and you can figure out the formula, and then you end up owning 5 or 6 and whatever it is. And these folks, your clients, they don't want to be in the restaurant business. I don't blame them. So when I look at the space that they want to convert from the restaurant into the 2 ADA compliant things, that's good. I like that. But I don't think I feel that way about 3 additional units beyond those 2. The 2 staff manager apartments, being the basement and all that, I don't have any problem with that. But I think what I'm saying is it is too much of an ask. But if you change this where you're asking for the 2 additional, not 5, rental units for that restaurant space to become ADA compliant, and leaving in the 2 additional one for the staff manager participants, I could probably vote yes on that. But as it stands here, I think it's a no. It's just too much of an ask, particularly with our criteria. So
Could I have a moment to speak with my client?
I think you might need more than a moment. I'll give you 3 minutes.
3 minutes, perfect, thank you.
It's cutting the baby in half, but it's a solution to me. It gets what I want to see, which is those ADA units. I want to see those, and I'm happy to help out for the employees. They don't need another 3.
Rainy days, what do? You never go walk downtown.
While we're waiting, let's go on.
Oh, do you want to do the election?
Yeah. Okay, while we're taking recess here, we do have some rearrangement of the officers of the board because we lost our vice chair. She took a demotion and went on the select board. I'm sorry for that, but hey, everybody makes a choice. And so, Paul,
Yes,
for today's nomination committee, we need a new vice chair, and that would mean we would need a new clerk.
Yes, I would like to nominate Virginia Fenwick as vice chair and Lee Hovey as clerk.
Well, I would second both of those.
All right.
And unfortunately, Ed, you can't vote on this because you can't vote unless you're a made member. I know it's a
Just getting the hang of the second.
So, and it also, but it doesn't have to be unanimous. It's 40 Bs don't have to be super, yeah, it has to be unanimous. It doesn't have to be unanimous. It doesn't have to be a super majority, it's just, of course, here we got 2-2, but that's all right. So I seconded Paul.
Okay.
And so,
I vote yes.
okay,
So I can vote for myself? Okay. Ginny votes yes.
I vote yes.
well, and I vote, hey, congratulations to the two of you. Thank you. You might wonder what happened to the chairman. Well, that's me. And I was elected for a year last December, so then you still stuck with me. So thank you very much. Took care of that. Do we have anything else that's worthwhile that we should take up today?
Our next meeting will be the 40B for Meeting House Road continued, begins at 1 PM next Thursday. Just a reminder to anyone, because it's not our normal 2 o'clock time.
Okay, thank you. And then following that, we're back to 3, correct? Okay, I think the folks are coming.
We're back to 3 o'clock, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, for the regular.
Oh. So Jamie, the floor is yours.
One question for your consideration would be, would there be any willingness to have just one room in the basement as opposed to 3? Thinking that's no, okay. So they're proposing the 2 upstairs and then the 3 guest rooms in the basement. So they were, Mr. Jarrett was asking if it'd be possible, if you'd be willing to consider just 1 guest room in the basement in addition to the 2. accessible rooms,
Okay, what happened to the 2 staff units?
along with the staff units. So it'd be a total of 3 additional guest rooms and the 2 staff units.
Yes.
Okay. So he is willing to agree.
Could you make a formal motion, please, to change your application?
Absolutely. So we would move to amend our application to request an additional 3 guest rooms, 1 to be located in the basement, 2 to be located on the main floor, and the 2 employee housing quarters in the rear building.
Okay. Okay, so, Paul, would you make a motion, please?
I'll move to accept the amended application with the changes as set forth by council.
Ed seconds and votes yes.
Paul votes no.
Ginny votes yes.
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. That's a 4-1 decision.
Thank you very much.
But don't run off. Because that was just a variance.
I think we can withdraw the special permit, I guess, at this point. Oh, we can't?
No, you still need the special permit finding because it's not a 1 or 2 family structure.
Oh, okay.
So that's 23-043. Is there any need for a discussion on that?
It would just be amended to be three rental units and 2 staff.
Right?
Correct.
Any discussion?
I'll
Any deliberation?
move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Very good.
Ed will second.
And Paul votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
I vote yes.
Yes, okay, deliberations. Ed?
I'm good to go.
All right. Paul?
I think we've deliberated as much as we need to, yes. So I'll move to approve the application as submitted,
Ed will
as amended. I'm sorry, as amended.
second and will vote yes.
Paul votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. That's a unanimous vote.
Thank you very much.
I don't think so. I don't think it's necessary. So.
Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, congratulations, and thank you very much. Thank you. So let's have a motion to,
I'll move to adjourn.
Ed seconds and votes yes.
okay,
Paul votes yes.
yes.
Ginny votes yes.
Steve votes yes.
I vote yes.
It is 5:58 PM.
5:58, thank you. We're all done.
Welcome to Chatham.